So let's hear from John Mozeliak, who had a lot to say over the weekend, and we'll just go in order. Here is Mo talking about the Cardinals' offseason activity.
We were in some negotiations that obviously, when you think about negotiations, right, the proxy when you get something where you win is you're probably the highest bidder or you're more attractive or something. I do think like one of the things we were looking for was a left-handed bat, a veteran bat, but I don't think we were a very compelling team to come to because when you look at our roster, there is competition for who that might be, and I think some people just did not find that all that interesting, and so. Typically in negotiations, it really comes down to sort of money and years, but there's also that factor of how do I fit in as that player? And so I think we were having a hard time really convincing that this was, an impactful type role given the competition we have. So there were things like that. And obviously we were, kicking the tires on a few other things to say the least. But, I think a lot of people had us like connected to the shortstop market, the starting pitching market, and candidly, we really weren't all that active in that. Now, that might be a strategic mistake, and, in hindsight, 6 months from now or a year from now, we can look back at that and say, okay, we probably should have, or, our hope is that we are right, and it won't be something that we regret. But, I feel like the effort and what we put into the off season was real. I can promise you it was a very busy one in the sense of effort, but, the return is what it is.
A couple things here. Number one, I believe him when he talks about they were trying to sign a left-handed bat. They had a role for him, but whoever this guy is, I suspect it was Joey Gallo, wanted to go to a place where he knew he was going to play a lot. And the Cardinals weren't in a position, really. They're with them, riding with Tyler O'Neill and riding with Dylan Carlson and riding with Lars Nootbaar and willing to take the gamble that O'Neill and Carlson can stay on the field and be better, but also with Jordan Walker waiting in the wings. The big man is right to the stage left. He's ready. He's almost ready. Why be dishonest and tell a Joey Gallo, oh, yeah, you'll get 600 plate appearances? I mean, so I'm not even worried about that. Because I think they have greater needs than a left-handed bat. I know they do. So when it comes to them saying they never really got into the shortstop or starting pitching market, I don't even care about shortstop as much as starting pitching. See, basically they're doing the same thing that they've done 2 years in a row. Now it's 3 years in a row. They're like, they know they don't have a top of rotation starter. They know that they can't match up rotation-wise with the best teams in the National League. They know all of these things, and they've known them for 3 years now, but yet they continue to try the same thing over and over again, which is, well, cross your fingers. Hey, we think Jack's going to be healthy. Hey, Waino, oh, man, he's throwing great. Man, hey, a full year of Jordan Montgomery. Imagine that. Hey, Dakota Hudson's working with that new pitching coach who's using all this technology. Dakota Hudson's fired up. Steven Matz. He's going to have a surprisingly good. It's all this stuff. Some of it may come true. Jack Flaherty. Some of it may come true. By the way, I'm not ruling out any of these things, but the point is they keep going down that path, hoping for the best, then having it implode, and then Mo's out there scrambling to find pitching in late July. And he's done a good job of that, but that's not really the point. If you're proactive, you don't have to be in a panic mode in late July. But they're willing to risk that for a third year in a row, and let me just say, cuckoo, because John Mozeliak used to be a time when he would repeat that one phrase that so many people have used through the years. I mean, I've actually talked to him when he's used the phrase 5-6 times over the years. Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting better results. Well, what the hell is this? Right? Anyway, look, they have fallen behind the other contenders in terms of their spending. And they're going into another season without a true number one starter and injury concerns. And they deserve all the credit in the world for trading for Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and making some other moves. They deserve full credit for that. They've got 2 cornerstones. As I told Will Leach today, you can listen to this, the Seeing Red podcast, a new one dropped today. Just go to 590 The Fan KFNS, 590 The Fan KFNS, or the 590 The Fan app, or you can, wherever you get your podcast, you can do that too. But one of the points I made was, they have 2 cornerstones. They have 2 legitimate foundation pieces. They're missing a key third piece that's a foundational piece that would be a third cornerstone. And that would be, of course, a number 1 starting pitcher who can dominate for you in the postseason. So I find it very puzzling and ludicrous. An organization that impressively goes out and gets Goldschmidt and Arenado to have 2 cornerstones, they in effect back away from completing the process that would give them a cornerstone starting pitcher. I don't understand that. It makes absolutely no sense. They're a good team with a chance to be a great team, but they won't take that final step, and yet they try to convince people, well, we spent more money. No, you didn't. You can play accounting tricks, but you didn't. Wilson Contreras is going to make $10 million this coming season. So if you get into the semantics, you can play that game. I'm not going to do it. I don't know why they have not made this a priority. Well, we do know why. It has to do with money. But anyway, let's move on. I didn't mean to go on a long thing there, but I think we had to kind of just get that whole thing straight. To not even enter the starting pitching market for one of the top guys, I just don't get it. The money's there to spend. Mo was talking about needing more power from Tyler O'Neill. Absolutely right. And I got to say, I feel a little better about that than I have in a while. And let's hear the president of baseball operations.
The simple thing there is to see that power, or see that consistency, right? When you're a middle of the order hitter, are you contributing as a middle of the order type of bat, right? And so, taking injuries aside, and we think back to 2 years ago and the season he had, he was able to put the St. Louis Cardinals on his back from time to time and carry us. When you have 2 players like Goldie and Nolan, you have to support that with other players. And I do feel like, the emergence of Lars, for example, right? He's someone that might turn into that as well. But in the meantime, we've also had the time to watch somebody like Dylan Carlson or Tyler O'Neill. And I will say, going into this year, expectations are high. But, the key is obviously being healthy. And when you're looking from just a pure productivity standpoint, it's power, it's being able to hit doubles, and it's, try to mitigate your strikeouts. But if the trade-off is an increase in power, that might be a fair trade-off right now.
Listen, Tyler O'Neill can still get this done, and I do believe he has a chance to be stay on the field more often. But then I read about what he's doing this offseason, and we know about the stretching and the yoga and everything to make him more limber and flexible, the stops and the starts when he's running, having a better pregame routine that gets him stretched out properly. And once again, I must pause to say, well, why weren't they doing that before? Why does it take these people 4 years to realize, we might want to take a look at his flexibility. But I can't talk about it now. I got to get in the dugout so I can be on TV. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand these people. I really don't. So you wait 4 years and you're like, he has a problem with flexibility. Geez. Well, maybe we ought to do something about that, huh? Yeah, good idea. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's a bug. That's a bug on me. But then I read that he's also still doing the heavy weightlifting, and you just take your palm and slap your forehead. So who knows? Who knows what's up, right? Let's go back to. Actually, we should hear this. Here's John Mozeliak, and this kind of touches on what he said earlier, but I still want to hear all this good stuff. Mo talking about not spending more this offseason.
Let's start with the question, will payroll go up?
Sure.
Right? And I answered yes. Has payroll gone up? Yes. Okay. Now, did it go up as high as your guys' expectations?
Or fans.
Fans? That's the eyes of the beholder, right? Like it doesn't mean that we weren't looking to invest in other things. We already touched on that, like some of the areas we did. Now, unfortunately, we didn't achieve that. But from the simple question, did payroll go up? Payroll has gone up. Do we have bandwidth to still add to this club throughout the year? Yes, we do. Is the market something that had an adverse effect to possibly us spending? The answer is of course, right? There's the way we operate is we're going to invest in what we think are smart investments, prudent, but also investments that we understand that could have a backside negativity or loss. Having said that, you're still not going to just do something just to do something, and you're not going to just spend to spend. As I said earlier, you can always spend. And so I would say to our fans, look, we like our team. Like if we didn't like our team, we'd be making adjustments to our team because that's how we do things here. But resources that are available today and resources moving forward are definitely more than what they were in 2021, 2020, and 2019.
Well, I appreciate that to an extent, but again, it's a matter of semantics because basically, let me just level to you. It's not what they spend as much it is in comparison to what the other really good teams in the National League are spending. So you can increase your payroll by 10, 12, 13 million, whatever it is, but because you've spent a lot less than the big boys, you really haven't made any progress. In fact, the gap has widened. So your little payroll increase really doesn't mean squat, is the impolite way to say it. And, this does matter because you look at where the Cardinals have been. Like from 2018 through 2021, they never ranked lower than 10th in the payroll rankings, the 26th, 26 man, never lower than 10th. They went down to 13th last season, and right now they're projected to be 14th. So they're going in the wrong way. They may have been spending a little more money this offseason, but they're out. They're 4 spots out of the top 10, and they continue to go lower and lower and lower every year. And the 40-man tax, the competitive balance tax, that payroll, the 40-man, they ranked among the top 11 teams in 2016 through 21. But then they went to number 13 last year, and now they're 15th. And I'm going to remind you of something that Tom Verducci researched. And let me pull this up real quick. From 2010 through 2016, the 14 teams that made the World Series in those 7 years, 14 teams obviously played in the World Series. Only 3 were topped by, only 3 of the 14 World Series spots were filled by top 10 playoff teams. So only 21.5% of the World Series slots were filled by top 10 payroll teams. But from 2017 through 2022, 10 of the 12 World Series spots were filled by top 10 playoff teams. That's 83%. So it's no longer where you just say, well, we're in the top 10 and we're confident this, we're confident that. The numbers show conclusively that unless you're in the top 10, your chances of getting to the World Series are greatly reduced. I mean greatly reduced. So they can tell themselves all these little stories that make them feel better. But the bottom line is they can afford any player that they want. And it's kind of one of these false arguments when they say, well, we're not going to make dumb spending decisions. We're not going to spend just to spend. Well, there are a few lunatics that would say they should do that, but that's stupid. And you tune those people out because they make no sense. I've never said, hey, you got to spend and spend and spend just to improve me. I don't care who you get, just spend. I've never said that, never will, because that is basically a moronic outlook. But when you have a glaring need, something that is going to continue to affect you, the larger this payroll gap goes, a top starting pitcher, and you choose to ignore it instead of attacking it, well, that's on you. And finally, let me say this. Did you hear that the way Mo was handling that, where he was in effect asking himself a question and then answering it, right? The one question you didn't hear all weekend from him? Here's what you did not hear, okay? Here's what you did not hear. Mo's self-questions. You didn't hear this. Did we do everything that we possibly could do to improve our team in a way that gives us our best shot to win the World Series? He didn't ask that question. Notice that? That one never came up when he was questioning himself, right? You know why he didn't pose the question? Because he already knew the answer. No, hell no, absolutely not. You didn't do that. So that's what it comes down to. People like me, and there are many that are, I'm like many of you, you're like me, whatever. At the very least, address a problem that has been a big problem for 3 consecutive years now. The absence of a stable rotation, and more specifically, a top of the rotation starter. Spend money on that. We're not asking you, I'm not asking you to spend money on everything. Spend money on players that you already have in terms of what the ability level is, or pitchers that are just more of the same. We're asking for a specific target of a number 1 starter for your money, and they refuse to do it. And so there's really no excuses. It's as simple as that. So anyway, I'll shut up about that, and we'll get ready to close this thing down. I can't, but this is amazing. A 1-hour show.
Sorry to get you all wound up.
I know. It's good.
Yeah.